Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast, presented to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined, as always, by Bo Brock, Damien Anderson, who celebrated a birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, DA. What a birthday present you got here on a Monday. Gentlemen, the All-Pro center for the Arizona Cardinals, Rodney Hudson, is not retiring. He is back, per numerous reports, including this tweet by Ian Rappaport, friend of the program.
How dare you?
I know.
How dare you?
Butchered that. Rap sheet saying veteran center Rodney Hudson, who stayed away from mandatory minicamp and whose status was quote-unquote uncertain for 2022, has informed the team he is returning and will play in 2022. Sources say he'll be with veterans when they report next Tuesday. Unbelievable. How are we feeling about this?
Guys, I think it's a collective sigh of relief for everyone associated with the Cardinals organization. Obviously, what he means to Kyler Murray protection-wise, and we know that Kyler can mitigate a lot of those areas and concerns that we talked about if Rodney wasn't on the football field. But I think in totality, what it means to that offensive line, obviously there's some big question marks there, but to have that foundational piece as Rodney Hudson, a Pro Bowler, a guy that has seen it, been through it, and that says that he's willing to play. It should be that little meme of the two little kids running together. They're both about 2 or 3 years old. It should be Kyler Murray and Rodney Hudson's heads on that meme and them running together, because I think we all know with the dominoes starting to fall, with the Hop news, Rodney Hudson, and all these things negatively towards the team, you were like, God damn, you know what I mean? What is going on, right, Bo? But yeah. I think having this little piece back, knowing that Rodney's going to be there, makes you smile a little bit and have optimism about the future.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It is the little kid that's just pumped to see his friend William again. Absolutely. It's that viral video. I'm with Chris. I'm with the GM, Saul Bookman. LFG, let's fucking go. The Arizona Cardinals, when we did our to-do list before training camp began, the #1 thing on most of our lists was reconnect with Rodney Hudson and make sure he gets back in the building and is ready to go for the 2022 season. And he is, according to Ian Rappaport, headed back to Glendale next Tuesday. That's got to be really exciting. Now all you have to do really is figure out Kyler Murray's extension, and we're cooking with gas as far as this Cardinals 2022 team goes. This has got to be, now in hindsight, the most important move of the offseason, in getting Rodney Hudson to kind of pivot on what was speculated on when he didn't show up for any offseason activity at all. Now, how much, how serious was this? I think this is just pure speculation on our part. Like, was it Rodney Hudson seriously contemplating retirement, or was it Rodney Hudson looking at the depth chart and saying, there's nobody on this roster that's realistically going to push me from my position. I'm going to take some paid time off, and I'll just, contemplate, radio air quotes, retirement, and just get the hall pass for the offseason and then show up when it really matters.
I put out some feelers today, gentlemen, and the consensus was this was unexpected, even by the team, because there was an overall consensus this time last month that he was done playing football, that he had told the team, I plan to retire, figure it out, I'm just not up for it. Those are the feelers that I got. And then you think about the social media posts that the teams put out or didn't post. They didn't post on his birthday. They photoshopped him out of a graphic. If you were to lead me to believe that Rodney Hudson just went up to Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim and said, I'm 33 years old. I'm an all-pro. I'm the anchor of this offensive line. You traded for me. You believe in me. I just want to sit back until training camp. There is no way, in my opinion, super pro player Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim are going to have a problem with that. When we saw him as animated as he was at the press conference in June, when he didn't show up, that was because they were being led to believe that he was not going to play football this year. And they were like, what the hell, Rodney? We don't have a center. We didn't draft one. And then the guys left in free agency are kind of meh, right? And so listen, Steve Keim has caught a lot of flack this offseason, rightfully so. But, I mean, he's got God's greatest gift of football today. Most people are connecting the dots of Keim, maybe Michael Bidwell, took it to the next level and got not extension done, but this agreement that he was going to play football this year. Remember all the quotes that came from, like, Justin Pugh and Kelvin Beachum? They're like, he's got to do what's best for his family. Not like, hey, we know Rodney will be there when push comes to shove September 11th against Kansas City. No. None of that was going on. So I even think many of his teammates believed he was done. So whether it was change it hard, if he just opted to say like, fool me once, Cardinals, I get to play and I skip all of this and, I get my money back. Maybe they were trying to recoup some of his signing bonus. I don't know. What I can say definitively is they better draft and develop a center next spring because there's a possibility we could go through this again. And I'm all for bringing Rodney Hudson back as long as he wants to play. But, if I'm Keim and Kingsbury, like we don't have a contingency plan. I think that's part of the reason they were so caught off guard, Damien, at the start of the offseason.
Guys, communication. And it works, and it's needed and works both ways if it's used correctly. And I think, and Johnny, I know that you alluded to a little bit, maybe Keim or Michael reached out to Rodney during this time and said, hey, we really need you. But I hope, more importantly, I hope it was Kyler. I hope Kyler took those leadership qualities and said, hey, man, we got a really good thing cooking here. You're an integral piece in what we want to do. To your point, I mean, when you don't show up, living in the day and age of social media, it's really easy to tell people how you feel without telling them how you feel, right? And we didn't get much of that from Rodney. All we had to do was, as Bo would say, speculate and get sources. But with the information that we recently got from Rappaport, that Rodney will be in camp, I think, as I said again, I think the Cardinals fan base, we've been seeing in the chats, they've been blowing up, have taken a collective sigh of relief. And knowing that, what once was a huge issue this offseason, not having your Pro Bowl center, they're protecting your quarterback, and knowing that the Cardinals do primarily a lot of their formations in the shotgun position, and knowing how difficult at times that transition can be, to have him in place, I think that brings – it gives the offensive line confidence. It gives Kyler confidence. And as we all say, that has a trickle effect throughout the team. When the offensive line is going to do their job, Kyler's going to do his job. Receivers got to run and get open. Running backs got to run. I think the Cardinals are in a good place because what we've said always, they've hedged their bets offensively, right? To score points and out-duel the opposing offenses. They're going to have to – and without Rodney Hudson, could it be done? Yeah, but it was going to be a lot more difficult.
Yeah, it simplifies things, that's for sure. I mean, you've got the status quo coming back, at least your offensive line. There's a ton of continuity there. I think people should breathe that sigh of relief and with the belief that this offense can be elite when the defense, there's a ton of question marks. And now with $10 million in cap space, where you have to spend those dollars. You don't have to go out there and get a backup center or whoever the best center that's on the free agent market. And it's J.C. Treader. I see him in the chat, and thank God that doesn't have to happen. So, it's going to continue to open up rush lanes. He's going to continue to be that calming voice on the offensive line. We hear the story about how he pointed out to Kyler Murray in a game last year about a play to check down to, and it turned into a big Christian Kirk completion. You love that that's coming back, and we're going to see year 2 of the duo of Kyler Murray and Rodney Hudson. Hopefully there's enough success to where we see another season after that from Rodney Hudson. So, we can only really speculate. We'll hear from Rodney Hudson, I'm sure, next week when the veterans report, and there'll be a ton of questions. I'll ask the question if nobody's willing to, what went down. But, was it, wink, wink, I'm contemplating retirement, guys, don't give me any shit about this? Or was it, he legitimately was thinking about retirement, and then Michael Bidwell was like, okay, well, then you're going to have to pay us back some of these monies. And then he's like, ooh, okay. I've got to,
those are my money.
Regrew that love
those are
for
my
the game.
monies, Michael. What happened?
Right.
I thought we were buddies. I thought you guys traded for me.
Would you mean say what? Would you mean say what?
He had all the leverage. We talked about it ad nauseum during this, 6-week incumbency period where we did not think he was going to play. He wanted to be cut and released from the Oakland Raiders once upon a time, now the Las Vegas Raiders, because he wanted to go play in Kansas City and finish his career there. And the Cardinals had to trade for him. They gave up a premium pick, a 3rd-round pick, a day 2 pick, and courted him and said, Rodney, we want you here. Look at the infrastructure we have. We're going to give you all this money. And they thought everything was gravy, right? And then this offseason, he's like, no, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm not going to show up. I don't think I want to play football anymore. Thank God that changed. I want to get to some of these comments here. Pick and Spreads puts it well. We need to focus on the offensive line next draft badly. A lot of free agents after this season. It's also a DJ contract year, DJ Humphries. Everybody's essentially in a contract year. Even though Rodney Hudson, as Bo mentions, is under contract after this season, I don't think anybody can expect him to be check marked in for 2023, right? Kelvin Beachum, DJ Humphries, and Rodney Hudson, and Will Hernandez, and Justin Pugh are all either done. In Justin Pugh's case, he's retiring after this year, or they're outright free agents. And so, yeah, they do need to do a better job drafting and developing and getting those young offensive linemen in-house. And it makes everybody better, right? Like Will Hernandez, he's got his issues, but he's going to start for the Cardinals, we presume, if he has a good training camp. He's already penciled in. But like playing next to Rodney Hudson, you're going to play infinitely better. Justin Pugh at guard rather than center, that's a big win for the Cardinal offensive line. All these rookies that they drafted, these, flyers on 6th, 7th round picks. We like the kid out of Oklahoma, Smith, maybe can play a little bit center, the 6th rounder. Like those guys can now be developed. And if there's something there, they can be maybe a plug and play opportunity next year. You don't have to force, God, goodness gracious, a day 3 pick to start this year. So Damien, you talk about going into this season as opposed to last year. Could you imagine the impact of losing Chandler Jones, Rodney Hudson, DeAndre Hopkins for week 1 and what that would have done to this team and to this locker room? Thankfully, you don't have that now, but like how big of a blow would it have been to this team?
I mean, it would be detrimental to have, 2 pillars of your team be taken away from you and having to respond to that. I mean, we know it's a game of next man up. We've all played sports. However, when guys are Pro Bowlers, when guys get paid over $10 million a year, those are guys that get paid to do something notable. 1 is protect the quarterback, and 2 is sack the quarterback. So having 2 guys like that not on your football team, I think that we would be going crazy. The Cardinals fan base would be going crazy, and I think you would understand some of the frustration by some of the the social pundits, right, that talk about the Arizona Cardinals weekly, right, rank them. But I think given the recent news, knowing that it's status quo, as Bo said, knowing that the offense will be able to score points. Obviously, there's no D-Hop for 6 weeks, but there is Kyler Murray, and he can do some amazing things with his feet and his arm, and that's why he's special, and that's why he was picked at number 1. And we've always talked about this. It's going to require him to have some signature moments this season, right, to get them where they want to be extended into the playoffs. And I think it's going to make, like you said, Johnny, it's going to make everyone more at ease having a guy like Rodney Hudson up front. I mean, to your point a little bit earlier, not having him on, media communication, being photoshopped out, there were clear indicators, unless it was a signal from the Cardinals, like, hey, put that shit out. Put that shit out. You know what I mean, Bo? Like, put that out. Yeah. Let's see if he balks. Let's see what he does. And they put it out, and I don't think there's any coincidences in life. I think as a result, they said
we know that better than anybody here on this podcast after what has happened with Kyler Murray this offseason. Absolutely. Yeah,
I mean, speaking of Kyler, I mean, does that get done, Johnny, before Monday or before the end of this week? Or is it done?
Why don't we do a little fun analogy here, a fun little exercise, I should say. Everybody in the chat, if you believe that Kyler Murray is going to play under a new contract this coming week, he has to report by next Tuesday. Give us a big thumbs up in the chat. Give us a thumbs down if you feel like Kyler Murray doesn't get extended. I will go on the record here, gentlemen. I think the contract gets done probably this weekend, probably somewhere around Sunday night. That's my official estimation on the deal. I don't have any insight into that. The numbers are consistent with $44 to $45 million per year. Everything dating back to the end of the offseason program suggests that it's going well. I don't think Kyler Murray is going to get hit, put pads on without a new deal signed. And this is a cherry on top because I expected the Kyler deal to get done, but I think a lot of us did. This Rodney Hudson news completely out of left field.
Right. And it might have, derailed any kind of negotiation where their focus had to go in getting Rodney Hudson back, because it would have just been a complete, utter disaster if they had to move forward without Rodney Hudson. I mean, we talked about Lasidius Smith, the rookie 6th rounder playing that position. We talked about Justin Pugh at this stage in his career making a position change. It would have been a disaster. And the DA's point, like, you put guys in more comfortable positions to thrive at the NFL level, play positions they're familiar with. Rodney Hudson does that and then some. He gives you an all-pro caliber center to boot. So now Steve Keim can absolutely just focus. He has nothing left in the way but focus on getting Kyler Murray's deal done, go back and forth with his representation, Eric Burkhart now with Rock Nation, and get that deal done. I mean, something catastrophic would have to happen to take him off the practice field next week. I think that there's so much goodwill going on between the two sides, Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, that if they don't get a deal done, it's going to come soon. I don't think it's imminent, but it's not necessary to get done just because vets report on the 26th.
It's a great point.
I think so, guys. I think so. I think optics-wise, it's best to have it, yeah, as we keep talking about, everyone be comfortable, status quo, right? Like no disruptions with the process, right? You don't want guys thinking about like, oh, okay, well, he's not going to be our quarterback, but he'll get here when he gets here. I think when you start the season, you don't want to have any distractions and you want to go out there and just focus on what you have. Like, okay, we could already address that we won't have Hop for 6 weeks, but we got Rodney back. We got Kyler signed. We can go out there and start preparing because they don't have Hop. They don't have an explosive guy like they used to, have. We know that Hollywood Brown is a guy, and I know that Johnny loves him, and we plan on him, I
don't accept any Hollywood slander on this podcast.
No, we know, but I'm saying I would say that he's no D Hop yet. I'll just leave that out there.
That's fair.
Yeah, he hasn't been proclaimed, one of the top, 3 to 5 receivers in the league. That can change in this offense, but I think will make the most sense to have everyone in camp in the opportune time at the start, so they can start on that path of getting everyone on the same page and doing what they have to do. And it's Kyler leading the ship.
I love what I'm seeing this last couple weeks from this team as far as this news goes, the trajectory of this Kyler Murray deal. If I could bet on this offense being a top 10 unit in the NFL, I certainly would. And maybe you can do that on DraftKings. We'll have to dabble into that. I want to remind everybody, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code PHNX. Make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Bet on the Home Run Derby tonight. There's still time. I like my man Albert Pujols to win it all. I know it's a long shot. Plus 2,200. I know. He's one of my faves. He's one of my faves. He got in. He's batting around 210 on the year. There's no Diamondback to root for, so I got to root for Big Al. That's promo code PHNX. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Gentlemen, speaking of DraftKings, I did check the DraftKings Sportsbook app before the show kicked off today and saw, did this Rodney Hudson situation move the needle as it relates to the Cardinals over under? They are still right around 8.5. I think we would all agree on that. It's basically like 8.5 means you're going to make the playoffs at 9 or you're going to miss the playoffs at 8. And if I was a betting man, which I am, I would take the Cardinals 8.5 over. You can do that right now on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Loving these comments, loving this vibe, Bo Brock, because we needed some good vibes on a Monday. Goodness gracious, like when was the last time we've had some positive? And it wasn't even a signing. We didn't even get a trailer signing.
But Johnny, I thought your energy would be higher though. I'm gonna be honest. I'm a little bit disappointed.
Well, I got my club and tee on. I can either be your Bible salesman or I could be Mr. Club and John here.
No, Encyclopedia Britannica, bro.
Okay.
Encyclopedia Britannica. Yeah,
doesn't he look like he's going out to Access Radius in like 2003 in that night shirt?
This is my dad's shirt. I've run out of clothes in the Midwest.
No, you got to do your jaw like this though, Johnny.
Got my all-pro center back. I'm vibing today, baby.
But the Arizona Cardinals offseason was unfortunately rivaling their regular season where they just fell off at the end of it. It was not trending in the right direction. So to finally get some good news, to get Rodney Hudson back in the fold, I know it's a report, but Ian Rappaport's usually on target with these things. It seems like he's going to be back. And when you look at the stats, it's crazy what the offense could do. 9-3 overall versus 2-3 without Rodney Hudson. And then the points per game, nearly 28 points per game versus 23.5 points per game. They're just a better offense overall, despite, you hope he's worked out the kinks as far as snapping the football from the shotgun. And I think he will. But man, good news for the Arizona Cardinals when they needed it. Also good news. We're going to be live from Four Peaks on July 27th. It's going down
right here, baby.
That's right. Look at this all day. Every single PHNX podcast will be live from Four Peaks, including PHNX Cards. Come join us on 8th Street. Have a beer with us. Have some great appetizers, of course, great food, and hang out with the whole crew. We'll talk with you. We'll hang out. We'll talk some cards. We'll talk anything you want and enjoy some delicious beverages along the way. And don't miss out on entering to be the toast of the month, the sweepstakes over at gophnx.com. You must be 21 or older and enjoy responsibly. But so what do we come down to? Do we see many thumbs down in the chat as far as the Kyler Murray extension? What's the consensus here?
It was mostly thumbs up, but there was a couple middle fingers.
There were a couple middle fingers in there.
There were a couple middle fingers. I don't remember who that was, but people want Kyler to earn it, guys.
Yeah.
That's his
number one. Isn't that what they're saying?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. But I think that that could be a discussion in itself, guys. Do you think that Kyler has earned it and warranted $40+ million a year? I'm going to go, given the market, absolutely.
Yes, I think that you're going to get a general consensus. We like to debate on this podcast, on this program. You will not find, unless maybe depending on how Frank Sanders wakes up in the morning, you will not find this group, this threesome here, pushing back on the notion that the first time in the history of this franchise they draft and develop a Pro Bowl, potentially Hall of Fame caliber quarterback, not to pay him market money. I don't think that's a good look, and I think Michael Bidwell has found that out as well. For all the Kevin Cobbs and John Skeltons and Ryan Lindleys, right? Kyler Murray comes in, puts this team on the map. How many 4 primetime games this year? They're a borderline playoff team again after potentially regressing as a roster. Yeah, pay him his money. Let's all go out and kick a little ass.
What's the series that they got following them this year, Johnny? They got that series.
Hard Knocks.
You think Hard Knocks would be doing the Cardinals if it was Colt McCoy? Something tells me no. I don't think HBO would come calling then.
But I think that they do love drama, and it is a great, you know what I mean? It's a great situation for drama. I think you could really watch any NFL team, and you're going to get so many different characters and personalities that I think it would be a great show if you're a genuine football fan. But knowing what we know about the Arizona Cardinals, it being intimate, close, reporting on it, you guys daily, in my case, a couple times a week, I think it's great. I mean, just to have that immersive view of what it is from day to day, because people just – I think oftentimes forget what players do to prepare, what the front office and coaches do to prepare to get ready for a football game. And as we know, I mean, a game plan can go from sugar to shit in a matter of minutes, a big play here, big play there. But in a matter of time, to have that access, I think it's huge for the fan base and everyone, affiliated with the Cardinals organization.
Yeah, and just to get the behind-the-scenes look at how things run. And I've said this from the very get-go. I think Cliff Kingsbury would benefit a ton from people kind of seeing how he operates and why we don't hear anything as far as any players slandering Cliff Kingsbury. Everybody seems to love him. He's obviously almost to a fault players coach. And we'll get to kind of see how he operates on a daily basis. The reports that he gets in there earlier than anybody. He's one of the first in, last to leave. What he's doing all between those walls, all day, and what he's doing to kind of help the Arizona Cardinals avoid that epic failure at the end of the season like he's done so far since 2013, dating back to his Texas Tech days. But anytime anybody says, no, Kyler Murray is not worth the money, he's not worth the market value, I want to do what A.J. Dillon, the Green Bay Packers running back, did to a poor minor league baseball mascot the other day. Watch this, guys. The Kenesha Kingfish. He absolutely got just dismantled by A.J. Dillon. Look at this. Head comes flying off. I can see him get CTE in that video. It's unbelievable. What would it take to get you guys in that mascot getup and take that brutal hit from A.J. Dillon?
I think the better question is if Damien wanted to do that to a PHNX employee. Damien was a former NFL running back, the pride of Northwestern.
Could lay some wood.
Yeah, and if you're around Damien, and I'm gonna be honest here.
Hey guys, Johnny was a runner-up state champion.
Thank you, Damien. Bless your heart. Damien still looks like he can play. If I had to go one-on-one with A.J. Dillon or Damien Anderson, or NFL caliber player, I would want, number one, all my medical bills to be covered, right? I'd have PHNX sign off on that. Number two is I would have a fixed amount, no less than 5 figures, because that, you mentioned that guy, he's going to be in a wheelchair, right? He's going to be shamed by his family and friends. I almost think the mental shame would be worse than the physical shame, because I take a beating every day physically. Just being
the mental shame. Your brain is pudding when you get that hit.
That's right.
But I mean, it's like
I get dragged for beer chugging on this channel or lack thereof. Imagine if that had happened to me. That'd be on every T-shirt, right? It'd be all over the website. Be all over the YouTube page.
Where's this minor league team at? First off, I gotta ask, where's this minor league team?
In Wisconsin.
Rural Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to be at that job for long, because I would be on workman's comp and I would have just laid there for the remain. I mean, is it to go viral? What is it to promote? I mean, does that guy own the team? You know what I mean? Like, is he going all out? I mean, it is crazy to put yourself in harm's way for some likes, right? or for some retweets or whatever it is. But I think it's great for us to talk about. AJ Dillon, not sure why he did it, but I'm sure that they paid him a hefty amount in terms of an appearance fee. That money's a great motivator. But I mean, it's just crazy to think that people are doing stuff like this because there was no protection. Obviously, dude was concussed. AJ's probably having some residual effects, but yeah, it's just a crazy moment in sports, man.
You ever done that to anybody? You ever trucked anybody that bad on the football field?
Yeah. Some of them I remember, right? Some of them I don't. But I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, it happens. I mean, it's like
some little scrub safety.
But I would say, no, it was probably start safety, some big time games, like it was just a matter of like mano a mano in the hole. I wasn't a guy with a lot of elusiveness. So if I had to get a first down, I was going to get that first down. You know what I mean? Like what it came
down. That's the
to.
difference between my game and Damien's game is I was, lateral cuts.
That was you? You're Barry Sanders?
Yeah.
Barry Sanders?
All the Barry Sanders moves. Just I would hit the hole and then the explosion. So yeah, Damien and I.
We'd be like thunder and lightning.
Yeah, that's right.
Like thunder and lightning.
That's right.
Tiki Barber and Rondane. I mean, let's keep in mind, Johnny, don't sell yourself short. And like, as far as you were in the Bloomington curves in the lab today, working on your body, getting your gains. So I was
on the dread meal, as I call it.
Yeah, you're not some schlub just coming in and taking a hit. Like they're gonna absorb some punishment.
Johnny, I mean, as a youth pastor, you would probably be one of the toughest.
Hey,
you know what I mean? Football players.
Yeah. If you did that again, you meet Jesus quicker than your sermon.
Come to Jesus moment there in the hole. I wonder what old AJ Dillon's trucking stat is in Madden, Mr. Bobrock, as we pivot on the PHNX Cardinals podcast.
What a professional transition.
Pivot like a flipping champ as my awareness is up to 100%. So
99,
we buried the lead today.
99.
99. We buried the lead today. Thank goodness gracious, Rodney Hudson is back. Also, Bobrock, we got a little tasty nugget as it relates to Madden and some rankings as it relates to the Cardinals skill players.
Absolutely. So they're going to do them on a daily basis, and they started with the wide receivers and the tight ends. And you always like to kind of just check in whether or not you play the game to see if your favorite team got respected or disrespected as far as the ratings go. We know this day and age, of course, with the quarterback that the Arizona Cardinals have, a big-time gamer, loves Madden football, Kyler Murray does. So I'm sure when he got his, was it a 77? Was it last year?
2 years ago, was it like an 80 or something?
Yeah, it was still low last year. So we like to check in. So the Arizona Cardinals wide receivers came out. Lee, if you could put that graphic up. Here's the DeAndre Hopkins comes in, the leader in the clubhouse, 96 overall, despite missing 6 games to start the season. Still getting the respect from Madden football, that 90 speed. He's got an 88 acceleration. He's got 79 strength. But that catch rating, I think, is a little bit low at 96 when you've got a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, probably the best hands in the league.
I'm looking at, I'm looking at right there. Yeah. Marquise Brown should have 99 speed, and he will have
97 bad.
Jamison Williams has 98. Cheetah Tyreek in Kansas City, or formerly Kansas City, now Miami, has 99. I don't care what Marquise Brown's overall rating is. I think after this year, we're going to get Marquise Brown at least at 98 because his average catch from Kyler Murray is going to be approaching 20. That's a prediction I'm going to make right now. It's going to be bombs away. He may only have 60 catches this year, but we're just going to see Marquise Brown streamlining down the field and Kyler Murray just throwing it up because no one can separate from this group. As you see there with Hopkins, 90 is probably a little generous for his speed, I would say. I mean, he's more of not a finesse player, but there's a skill to his game.
He's a surgeon.
Middle of the field, right? We're going to be throwing bombs to Marquise Brown, Mr. Damien Anderson.
Guys, I think it was a little low. I think that I respect what DeAndre Hop did, but I think that Brown, Ertz, and I think it was Green at 80. I think they were a little bit low. I mean, Green had over, what was it, close to 900 yards last season.
Yeah.
And although that he was, and admittedly, he wasn't on the same page at times with Kyler Murray, I think that everyone respects AJ Green. I think those who watched intimately, watching the Cardinals, expected him to play, at that all-pro, high-level AJ Green. ish era, but I would say Zach Ertz, one of the best tight ends in the league. I mean, he's no Darren Waller, but 84, I would like to see it like 2 points higher on all those guys. I would say at least, with the exception of maybe bumping Hop up 1, Brown up 2, and everybody else in terms of Hurts and Green up another 2. I mean, I need to see more from Rondell, but I'm okay with what it is because we know that they can be modified throughout the season. And like anything in life, you got to go out there and earn that shit. So if they play well, it's going to increase. And I'm guys, knowing how the season the media has gone in communication, I'm afraid of what they're going to come out with Kyler. Like I'm really like.
Well, Jordan P just said it in the chat. Hollywood bombs away is what I want to do. Cliff, okay. Hollywood, go catch the screen pass. That's a reality that we all have to face right now.
Well, it's getting them the ball in space, guys. It's getting them the ball in space.
I'm a Cliff Kingsbury apologist, but God help me if Bo Brock, if he opens the season, screen passing away to Rondell and Hollywood Brown, and they don't have anywhere to go. No. I won't be able to help myself.
They're going to use him like Christian Kirk was utilized, and we saw Christian Kirk run plenty of times down the field catching bombs from Kyler Murray. He's got better speed than Christian Kirk. He's rated higher than Christian Kirk. People, kept complaining about, is he going to be able to fill that role? Well, Madden seems to think that Hollywood Brown is a better player, and he's a better player. He's already had a more accomplished career than Christian Kirk, who is 81, and Hollywood's 84. Let's take the rest of this list before we get out of here. The tight ends that checked in: Trey McBride, your rookie second.
That's a nice grade for Trey McBride, by the way. That's a mid-second round pick and a tight end to boot. That's a very nice grade.
Look at Andy Isabella somehow getting a 70. He's got to know somebody over the Madden facility to have one catch in 2021.
There.
He's a 70.
When your strength's a 57 and your awareness is a 52, come on, bro. Like, I mean, I know it's not him. I know it's
right.
I think anybody and I know it's all relative, right? It's graded on a curve, these professional athletes, but 52 and 57, like, come on, guys.
That awareness might be high too. Did you guys see him a couple years ago on a critical third down? He went backwards and they had to punt and he had the first down caught. If you've seen him on punt and kickoff returns, that awareness might.
So you're saying it's justifiable, John?
Oh yeah, God, yes. And I also think. Listen, his grade's always going to be respectable because he can fly. He's got acceleration, but I would argue catch at 79 is way too high. He body catches. He's never been a catcher with his hands, a natural catcher, I want to say. Go back and watch his combine drills when he was doing the gauntlet. It was body catch after body catch after body catch. And that's okay if you can carve out a niche in the NFL. But I think it's disrespectful, Bo, that Antoine Wesley, who had a phenomenal end to the season, is not higher up than Andy Isabella.
I mean, if your rating system has a guy who played a role, and a significant role down the stretch for the Arizona Cardinals, and he played relatively well, over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 2 tutties against the Dallas Cowboys in a big game for the Arizona Cardinals, and you've got him rated below a guy who saw 1 catch. And there's some flaws there just because his speed is so much higher. It doesn't make sense. Put Antoine Wesley's catch, his jumping ability, whatever it takes to get him higher than Andy Isabella. I mean, football player for football player, Antoine Wesley has taken over Andy Isabella, not only in the Cardinals, but in the NFL. He should get that respect. Greg Dortch, talk about the most disrespectful thing. 41 strength. What can he even open up a jar of peanut butter with 41 strength? Like, poor guy. He's probably in the weight room right now with tears streaming from his eyes. Like, I'll show you.
I mean, when we were growing up, no one even looked at that. You know what I mean? No, his boys are shooting him a screenshot like, bro, 41.
Right.
Where they do that at? You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. Like you said, Bo, like, you can't do nothing with 41 guys.
Right.
Like, you can barely open a door.
He needs to be outside Madden's headquarters and be like, yo, come out, get your whooping. Whoever says I'm a 41, I'll show you 41. He needs to post
something right now doing some extreme
That's punter-esque. Yeah.
He needs to post some extreme weightlifting and tag Madden on it right now. Like,
I look at that group, in all seriousness, gentlemen, is this the most loaded skilled position group that this team has had since maybe 2015? With, you think about John Brown, peak John Brown, Michael Floyd, Fitz, who is the running back? David Johnson, the running back for that team. I look at this group and I'm like,
they've never had part of that too. Yeah.
Yeah. They've never had a tight end group this deep. Yeah. And if Max Williams gives them anything, especially as a blocker, you go 3 deep at tight end, you get DeAndre Hopkins back after week 6. You've got a receiving core. I mean, like we joke, like Antoine Wesley is a real player. He's an NFL player. We saw it last year. He is an afterthought in these rankings. He's fourth or fifth best receiver on this team. You could absolutely start a game if you needed him to. AJ Green's a complete afterthought, and he's an 80, and he's somebody that I think in a pinch could absolutely help you. And then you've got bona fide speedsters and Rondell and Marquise Hollywood Brown, and then the GOAT and DeAndre Hopkins. This is the best skilled position group that they have had. I would argue to say since Michael Bidwell took over the team. I think that the peak was Fitz and Bolden, right? Yes. But the depth on that team, you got Nola Edgerrin James.
Steve
right?
Preston had 1,000 yards though.
He did, but you had no tight end in that group of notes, right? I just think from top to bottom, if this is a big caveat, if you get DeAndre Hopkins of old, if Hopkins comes back, doesn't miss a beat, plays 11 games and is fantastic, and what we think we're going to get out of Hollywood Brown and Trey McBride, and the fact that the running back group has a pro bowler as a starter nobody talks about. He scored 1 million touchdowns last year. I think this has a chance. And I couple Kyler in there as well to be the best offensively skilled group that we've had in 15 years. And I would be shocked if this group, especially with big Rodney Hudson back, they are not a top 10 offense. I think that has to be the floor for this offense, Bo.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It has to. And that's the biggest thing is Cliff Kingsbury put Kyler Murray in a position to get the ball into these guys' hands and take advantage of all those mismatches and having this just embarrassment of riches of playmakers. I mean, because they're not short on those. For the first time in a long time, they're not short on playmakers. Can you get the ball to Hollywood Brown? Can you get Zach Ertz involved? Can you get Trey McBride involved? Can you get all those guys involved and be kind of that conducting that chorus? Can you be that maestro and just hit all the right chords and all the right notes? That's going to be tough, and that's a huge thing that Cliff Kingsbury, for the first time in his Cardinals career, can he get this offense to that top 10? It should be top 5, Johnny, but can he keep it within that top 10 the entire season's length?
Yeah, it should be.
So where they're putting up points and teams are coming into the desert, or the Arizona Cardinals are visiting somebody on the road and they're like, oh shit, what are we going to do with this juggernaut offense? How are we going to slow them down? If we slow down this part, they're going to kill us with this. You got to pick your poison. They've got to have that mentality week in and week out, and it's going to come down to Cliff just dialing up the right schemes.
DA, I want to pose a question to you is, what do you think the weakness is to this group then, outside of no D-Hop for 6 games? That goes without saying. But you look at this group offensively, and I'll include the offensive line now with Rodney Hudson returning. I don't see too many weaknesses. The defense has got holes up and down. But there's a reason this team should still make the playoffs, and it starts with the 11 guys they're starting in an offensive league on the offensive side.
No, yeah, Johnny. I mean, I think it's not overstated to just clarify. They've hedged their bets offensively. I mean, you can go from roster offensively with their starters and match them up collectively in the league, and they're going to be in the top tier offensive wise. And like Bo said, top 5 to 10. You need that to go deep into the playoffs. With that, I'm going to throw this back to you guys. Do you think that it's a lot of pressure on Cliff to your point, having these embarrassment of riches? By the way, I want to put on the record, I think Trey McBride, I think Roy the viewer said too that he's going to be a stud. I think he's going to have over 500 yards and going to be a sleeper on this team. I really do. Just knowing the matchups that Cliff can do and just the myriad of offensive schematically things that he can do in terms of play calling. But I want to throw that back to you guys. Do you think it's a lot of pressure on Cliff to know that, hey guys, we gave you all this talent. We've made all these trades. We got your quarterback, did all these things for you to go out there and make it happen every game. We know they're not going to maybe win every game, but is it, I think someone mentioned 28 points. Does it have to be 32? Like what are we calling the baseline for this team, given that they're so offensively talented?
Mm-hmm. 30.
What would you guys say? What you know what I mean? Like, what's a good? I would say 28 to 32. They got to do that again.
I agree. I mean, I think there's often too many plays left on the field with this offense. But now, in year 4 for Cliff Kingsbury, who just signed, I'm sure, a pretty lucrative extension. We know the years. We don't know the money behind it, but I'm sure it was pretty lucrative. That he has no excuses. He's got the players that fit his scheme, or who he views and Steve Keim fit his scheme. And he's got his quarterback that he brought along that he wanted from the very get-go. And now it's just like, okay, you have to be the offensive guru that we envisioned that we were going to take in one of the most weird coaching hires in NFL history, a guy who was fired from his alma mater out of the Big 12, and he went to become an OC at USC for a cup of tea, and then next thing you know, he's the head coach in the NFL. Like, Cliff Kingsbury has to prove Steve Keim right for betting on him so many years ago, and this is his opportunity because who else is he going to do it with? I mean, they've churned this roster and put him in this position, and now it's like, okay, the pressure's on, but you better thrive in this pressure because there couldn't be better circumstances than this, maybe outside of maybe a stronger offensive line, but you had to make some sort of concessions to get this roster, this offense.
I go back and forth, DA, because Bo and I just talked about this on one of our previous audio-only pods. Like, who outside of Kyler Murray has Cliff Kingsbury developed into like a bona fide, cemented stalwart in this offense, Pro Bowler? And it hasn't happened yet, but you can make an argument they haven't invested enough in this offense with young players. They go out and they get Hollywood Brown, they get Trey McBride. I think Cliff has done a great job seamlessly transitioning veterans midseason, like, last year with Ertz. He did it once upon a time with Kenyon Drake. Look what he did with James Conner last year. I do think that the Cardinals can get there, and I would challenge the people who push back and say, this is a guy who went into San Francisco and Seattle last year with Colt McCoy and no DeAndre Hopkins and put up a quality offensive outings, right? I think the floor with Cliff is very high, but can he reach that pinnacle of every week you got to go out and score 30 to 32? Because we know this, the defense has major question marks, deficiencies up and down. But what I will say about Vance Joseph is I don't think they're going to be terrible. I think they're going to be middle of the pack. They're going to have their ups and downs. They're going to have games that aren't going to be great. And in those occurrences, like maybe a week one, when you play the best of the best in Patrick Mahomes, can this offense go shot for shot? And I think that they can, because I do believe Kingsbury, at the end of the day, said it last year. He didn't want to be overly reliant on Hopkins anymore. He made that mistake. And what'd they do? They just said, we're going to flush the offense with playmakers. So no matter who we've got on the field, we've got threats to score. We're not one-dimensional, right? And then, of course, you couple Kyler Murray into that, and I think you're playing with house money at that point. It's a great recommendation for Cliff Kingsbury at the end of the day. Like, I recommend that they score points, and I think that they will early and often. Another recommendation I can give to you is for you to go out and consider the COVID-19 vaccine. COVID-19 vaccines are free for everyone 5 and older. Those 12 and older are now eligible for a booster. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location nearest to you.
I can also recommend OG's, our partner, of course, the Arizona's Cannabis Kitchen, that can come out with an incredible cannabis experience for you, including their limited time first ever seasonal flavor, Pina Colada. You're going to love this. Perfect blend of pineapple and creamy coconut. Check out OG's. Follow them on Instagram. Our guy, Saul Bookman, our GM, he says that they've got some awesome flavors headed your way this fall. So you want to follow them at OG's Brands on IG. And, of course, check out what they got going on online, ogsbrands.com. That's OGEEZ brands.com. You must be 21 years or older to purchase, but you can find their products in your local dispensary as well. OG's, yeah, I'll highly recommend that here, part of the PHNX Cardinals crew. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. We've got an audio-only podcast dropping tomorrow, Johnny. We're going to be talking all sorts of things Arizona Cardinals, including our first mailbag of the season. We're going to get from our listeners' questions, and we're going to answer a couple of those. But it's been a fun show. This Rodney Hudson news gave not only the Arizona Cardinals themselves a boost, it gave us a boost.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to make sure everybody checks us out online. Go PHNX.com. You can subscribe. Please subscribe, like, comment. The YouTube page, PHNX Sports, PHNX_Cardinals on Twitter. At the site, check out our PHNX merchandise locker. We've got a ton of gear available right now, a ton of gear dropping before the season. Don't miss it, because you're going to see your friends and family sporting it throughout the Valley and beyond this fall. Be sure, again, become a member at gophnx.com. 50 cents for the first month, $8.99 for the subsequent month, or just under $60 for the year, and cop a free t-shirt in the process. I want to thank Mr. Bo Brock, the birthday boy, Damien Anderson, as we get to celebrate here on a Football Monday PHNX Cardinals podcast. Be sure, like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. We will be back tomorrow. See you, everybody. Take care.